Good morning, students. Happy Rhino.
Oh, sir.
ළමයි අපි දැන් මාර්තු මාසේ අන්තිමට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා ඇති ඇකඩමික් කැලෙන්ඩර් එක. අප්‍රේල් 11 ඉඳලා අප්‍රේල් 17 වෙනකන් නිව් ඉයර් වැකේෂන් එක. ඒතකොට ඒ සුමානේ ලෙක්චර්ස් කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඇකඩමික් ඉයර් එක ඉවර කියන්නේ සෙමෙස්ටර් එක ඉවර වෙනවා මයි 27න්. මේක ආපස්සට මම මේ මතක් කරන්නේ. එතකොට ස්ටඩි ලීව් හම්බ වෙනවා මයි 28 ඉඳලා ජූනි 5 වෙනකන්. එක්සෑම්ස් ජූනි 6 ඉඳලා 24 වෙනකන්. මතක තියාගන්න තව හරියටම මාසයයි තියෙන්නේ. මාසයක් තියෙනවා මේ මැයි 20 සෝරි අප්‍රේල් මැයි 20 මගේ group presentation සහ individual presentation assessment ටිකත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලැහැත් වෙන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මේක පළවෙනි පණිවිඩය අපිට තියාගන්න. දෙවෙනි එක තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ course content එකේ මේ වෙනකොට අපි කව කරලා තියෙන ටික බැලුවොත් overview of sustainability accounting එක කව කළා. මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ syllabus එක. ඊට පස්සේ number 2 sustainable market and market development. ඊට පස්සේ sustainable accounting strategies, sustainable products, sustainable pricing. අද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ 6 වෙනි topic එක reporting. එතකොට තව අපිට ඉතුරු වෙනවා crisis management, sustainable marketing communication, sustainable channel networking, channel network තුනයි, social marketing, corporate social responsibility as a sustainable marketing tool. ඊට පස්සේ opportunities of corporate sustainable accounting. තව topic 6 ළමයි තියෙන්නේ. අපිට කාලය හොඳටම ප්‍රමාණවත් සිලබස් එක කවර් කරන්න. අපිට එක දවසකට එක ටොපික් එකක් අපි කවර් කරනවා. ඒක නිසා මේ වෙනකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉස්සරහට තියෙන දේවලුත් පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. මොකද එක්සෑම් එකට සමහරවිට මම දැන් මාකටිං ඒ කියන්නේ මේ 11 වෙනි ටොපික් එක විදිහට තියෙන corporate social responsibilities ඒ වගේ දේවල් වලින් ගත්තොත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කාලය තියෙන්න ඕනේ ඒවත් ස්ටඩි කරගන්න. උදිත් මේ course content එක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දීලා තියෙනවද?
තමයි කනෙක්ෂන් පොඩ්ඩක් අවුල් සර් කියපු දේ ඇහුන්නේ
දැන් මං කිව්වේ දැන් මේ course content එක මේ syllabus එක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කලින් share කරලා තියෙනවද?
සර් LMS එකට දැම්මම තමයි අපිට හම්බෙන්නේ
LMS එකට දාලා නැහැ කියලාද කියන්නේ? ඒක lecturer ද කරන්න ඕනේ නැත්නම් මේ
ඔව් සර්
මම ඒක දැනගෙන හිටියේ නෑ. මං හිතුවේ මේ මොනවාද ඒක LMS එකෙන් ධනුෂ්කලා ඒගොල්ලෝ කරනවා කියලා. හරි මම මේක දාන්න. මම මේක දාලා තියන්නම්. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කල් ඇතුළේ හැත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. සිලබස් එක මොකක්ද කියලා. මේ post content එක මම දාලා තියන්නම්. හරි. එතකොට බලන්න මේ ඒක මම lecture එකෙන් පස්සෙම කරලා දාන්න. මට sorry ඒ කියපු එක. මම දන්නේ නෑ ඒක දාන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඒක නිසා මේ දැන් නිවාඩු බලුවතින් එහෙම අපි බැලුවොත් තව අපිට සුමාන අද 29යි. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට තියෙනවා අප්‍රේල් 5 වෙනිදා අප්‍රේල් 12 ලෙක්චර් එක කරන්නේ අවුරුදු නිවාඩුව නිසා. ඊට පස්සේ 19 ඊට පස්සේ අප්‍රේල් 26 3යි. ඊට පස්සේ මැයි තව ලෙක්චර්ස් 8ක් අපිට කරන්න තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ ඔක්කොම කවර් වෙනවා. ඒක නිසා මේ කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ උදිත් ඒ කියපේක හොඳයි මම මේක මේ දාලා දාන්න. මම හිතන්නේ අනිත් සබ්ජෙක්ට්ස් වලත් මම දාලා නැහැ. කෝස් කන්ටෙන්ට් එක මම දැන් අප්ලෝඩ් කරලා දාන්න. හරි එහෙමනම් අද ටොපික් එක reporting. Under the reporting, we are going to discuss 6 topics: primary stakeholder, secondary stakeholder, integrated reporting, principles of strong reporting, responsiveness, balance, comparability, accuracy, timelines, clarity, reliability, boundary setting, disclosure, post-report engagement. Number 3, analysis of sustainability contents arriving at material issues applied in the corporate field. Number 4, effective strategy and quality reporting. Number 5, benefits and disadvantages of different reporting styles. Number 6, assurance of auditing integrated reporting trend and its application. ඔය හය තමයි අද දවසේ අපි ඩිස්කස් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. Primary stakeholders, secondary stakeholders, integrated reporting. Potential company stakeholders include groups such as customers, investors, employees, and managers, local communities, future generations, government, competitors, media, natural environment, suppliers, and business partners. මේක තමයි primary stakeholders, secondary stakeholders, integrating reporting කියන එකේ අදහස. කාටද report කරන්න කියලා. Potential company stakeholders including groups such as customers, investors, employees, and managers, local communities, future generation, government, competitors, media, natural environment, suppliers, and business partners. බලන්න මේකේ LMS එකේ මේ ටික ඇති මම දාලා. Users, beneficiaries, and primary, secondary, territory, tertiary කියන tertiary. එතකොට users, beneficiaries, male, female, children, elders ඒක තමයි primary කියලා කියන්නේ. secondary කියලා කියන්නේ local authority. Direction of municipality technical services, traditional authorities, NGO and development project. NGO කියන්නේ non-government organizations කියන එක. ඊට පස්සේ business and suppliers, decentralized government services, research institutions, school and universities, service providers. Territory, financial institutions and donors, national authorities at all levels, opinion leaders, civil society, foreign cooperation agency, media. ඊළඟ එක principles of strong reporting. Responsiveness, balance, comparability, accuracy, timeline, clarity, reliability, boundary setting, disclosure, post-reporting engagement. මේක මොකද්ද මේ what are sustainable reporting principles කියන එක තමයි සමහරවිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙලා එන්න පුළුවන් උගලන්ට. එතකොට මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න තමයි මම මේකේ අහන්නේ මොකද ගණන් හදන්නේ නැහැ නේ මේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකේ. What are the sustainable reporting principles? Principles to define report content, materiality, stakeholders, inclusiveness, sustainability, context, and completeness. Principle to define report quality, balance, comparability, accuracy, timeline, reliability, and clarity. මොකද ළමයි මේ පළවෙනි වතාවට තමයි SLTC එකේ ඕගොල්ලෝ මේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකට ෆේස් කරන්නේ. ඒක නිසා පාස් පේපර්ස් මොනවත් නැහැ. ෆස්ට් ටයිම් ඕගොල්ලන්ට මේ ෆේස් කරන්න එනවා. ඒක තමයි බෙන්ච්මාර්ක් එක වෙන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේ මම ජයවර්ධනපුරින් පාස් පේපර් එකක් ඉල්ලුවා ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක ෂෙයා කරන්න. තාම මට හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද මේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එක අලුත් නිසා. ඒක නිසා මම SLTC මම එක්සැමිනේෂන් ඩිවිෂන් එකේ අසිටින් ගියවත් ඒත් ඒගොල්ලෝ මට කිව්වේ මේකට ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයට කවුරුත් මෙච්චර කල් කරලා නැහැ. මේ ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රය ඒ කියන්නේ පාස් පේපර්ස් නැහැ. පොඩක් ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න. පළවෙනි වතාවට තමයි මේ ඕගොල්ලන්ට ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයක් එන්නේ. ඊළඟ බැච් එක පොඩ්ඩක් බලයි. ඒක නිසා ඕගොල්ලන්ට මොනවත් කලින් දේවල් රිෆර් කරන්න නැහැ. ඊළඟ එක analysis of sustainability content arriving at material issues applied in the corporate field. In business, sustainability refers to doing businesses without negatively impacting the environment, community, or society as a whole. මේක පොඩ්ඩක් පැහැදිලි මදි. මේක තමයි මට හොයාගන්න තිබිච්ච ස්ලයිඩ් එක. shared value opportunity කියන එක. do well, make money, do good, social environmental processes. Effective strategy and quality reporting. What is a sustainability strategy report? The sustainability report is the critical first step in implementing a strategy that can help an organization to set goals, measure performance, manage sustainability related impact and risk, and understand how it drives value for its stakeholders. Benefits and disadvantages of and different reporting styles. මේක හොඳට බලා ගන්න. Benefits and disadvantages and different reporting styles. Benefits මොනවද? Maintains trust, help in improvement of the process and the whole system, enhancing decision making strength, building strategies for improvement, reduce compliance cost. ඔය ටික තමයි benefits. ඊට පස්සේ ඊළඟ topic එක assurance of auditing integrated reporting trend and its application. How does integrated reporting relate to sustainability? Unlike traditional separate annual and sustainability reporting, integrated reports disclose and connect financial, social, and governance inputs and performance information. They improve transparency of a company's social responsibilities and help demonstrate how a company creates social value over time. What is sustainability reporting assurance? Sustainability report assurance කියන එක SRA කියලා කියන්නේ. Independent assurance of report against international standards such as Global Reporting Initiative (GRI) and the AA1000. Accountability Principles 2018 demonstrate an organization's commitment to customers and stakeholders. මේ සමහර දේවල් ඔයගලන්ට කටපාඩම් කරලා මතක තියාගෙන ඉන්න වෙයි. Question paper එකට. What is the difference between sustainability reporting and integrated reporting? මෙන්න මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඔයගලන්ගෙන් අහන්න පුළුවන් මම. What is the difference between sustainability reporting and integrated reporting කියලා. මම මේ විශේෂයෙන්ම සඳහන් කරන තැන් මතක තියාගන්න. Generally, sustainability reports can cater to a board's stakeholders based and communicate organizational impact on the economy, the environment, and society. By contrast, an integrated report explains to providers of financial capital how the organization create value over the short, medium, and long term. මේ ස්ලයිඩ් එක විනාඩි දෙක තුනක් බලන්න. ඒ LMS එකේ තියෙනවා. චුට්ටක් බලන්න. ළමයි පුළුවන් තරම් ඉක්මනට සිලබස් එක කවර් කරලා ඊට පස්සේ මේකට අදාළව තියෙන YouTube ටිකක් බලමු අන්තිම ලෙක්චර්ස් වලදී. මොකද මේ එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට අයිඩියා එකක් එනවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ කවදාවත් මම ඕක කිව්වා කියලා ලින්ක් එක දැම්ම කියලා බලන්නේ නැහනේ. ඒක නිසා අන්තිම ලෙක්චර්ස් වලදී අපි බලමු මේ ඒක බලන්න. මොකද ඒකෙන් ඩිෆරන්ට් අයිඩියා එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද අන්තිම වෙද්දී ඔයගලන්ට පළවෙනි වතාවට ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රය හම්බෙන්න නිසා මම ඒක ඉටුවෙන් යන ප්‍රශ්න ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක ඩිස්කස් කරන්න. එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට අයිඩියා එකක් එවි. අන්තිම ලෙක්චර් එකේදී අපිට දැන් අන්තිම ලෙක්චර් එකක් කියලා ලෙක්චර් එකක් ප්ලෑන් වෙනවනේ. අපි එතෙන්දී කතා කරමු. එතකොට ඒ වෙනකොට ක්වෙස්චන් පේපර් එක ෆයිනලයිස් වෙලා තියෙවි. මොකද මම ක්වෙස්චන් පේපර් එක හැදුවාමත් මේ ඒක තමයි වෙරිෆයර්ස්ලා දෙන්නෙක් වෙරිෆයි කරනවා. ඒක තමයි ප්‍රොසීඩියර් එක. එක්ස්ටර්නල් වෙරිෆයර් කෙනෙක් සහ ඉන්ටර්නල් වෙරිෆයර් කෙනෙක්. එතකොට මම හදන ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයේ මොනවාද මම දැන් ස්ටෑන්ඩ් ප්‍රමාණයක් හදලා ඉවරයි. නමුත් ඒක ෆයිනලයිස් වෙනවා කියලා ලෙවල් එක කියන්න බෑ. ඒක ෆයිනලයිස් වුණාට පස්සේ තමයි මට ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක ඒකට කිට්ටුවෙන් යන ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රය ඩිස්කස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට අසාධාරණයක් වෙනවා. මේක පළවෙනි වතාවට සබ්ජෙක්ට් එක නිසා කවුරුත් කළත් නැති නිසා ඊට කලින් ප්‍රශ්න පත්‍රයක් දැකලත් නැති නිසා මම කැමති නෑ ඔයගොල්ලන් අපහසුතාවයටපත් කරන්න. ඒක නිසා බලමු. කොහොමද ඔයගොල්ලන් ගොඩ දාන්න ඕනේ. ඒක නිසා මතක තියාගන්න. මේ පුළුවන් තරම් ඉක්මනට දැන් නිවාඩුයි ඔක්කොම දේවල් එන නිසා ඉක්මනටම මේ සිලබස් එක කවර් කරලා දාමු. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට බලන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි මම මේ ලෙක්චර් එකෙන් පස්සේ මේ ලෙක්චර් එකයි කෝස් කන්ටෙන්ට් එකයි දෙකම අප්ලෝඩ් කළාම LMS එකට කොච්චරක් කෙරලා තියෙනවද කෙත නැති ඒරියාස් මොනවද. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට අයිඩියා එකක් තියෙනවා. මොකද මගේ ස්ලයිඩ් ෂෝ ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන් එක එක්සැක්ට්ලි සිලබස් එකේම තියෙන දේවල් මොනවත් මම ඊට වැඩි කරලා තියෙනවා එකක් අඩු කරලා නැහැ කිසිම දෙයක්. දැන් මතක තියාගන්න ලෙක්චර්ස් වලට සම්බන්ධ නොවන කට්ටියටත් මේ කියන්න ලෙක්චර්ස් වලට හිටියත් නැතත් එක්සෑම් එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ. එක්සෑම් ඩේට්ස් වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. තමයි මම අද පටන් ගත්තේ මේ එතනින්. මේක බැලුවද ඔයගොල්ලෝ? හරි. දැන් මේකේ තියෙනවානේ financial reporting, financial statement, narrative report, sustainability reporting. දැන් මේක තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ මේ වෙනස. ඊට පස්සේ integrated reporting. ඒතර purpose එක බැලුවොත් financial statement මොකද communicate financial performance position and cash flow and specific reporting period. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉගෙනගෙන නැතිනේ පහුගිය අවුරුද්දලත් එක්ක. ඊට පස්සේ narrative reporting කියන එක. ඒකට narrative report කියන්නේ provide content for මම ඉන්නේ මෙන්න මෙතන මේ slide එකේ. මෙතන provide context for financial statement and forward looking information through the eyes of management. ඊට පස්සේ sustainability reporting කියලා කියන්නේ මේක මෙතන තියෙන වෙනස තේරුම් ගන්න purpose එකේ. Communicate the entities broader social and environmental impact strategies and goals. ඊට පස්සේ integrated reporting කියන්නේ explain to providers of financial capital how value is created over time. ඊට පස්සේ audience එක. මේ බලන්න එක එක තත්ත්වවලදී වෙනස් වෙන හැටි. audience එක financial statements වලදී මොකද වෙන්නේ? current and prospective investors, lenders and other creditors. ඒකවල තමයි audience එක financial statements. එතකොට narrative reporting වලදී current and prospective investors, lenders and other creditors. මේ දෙක එහෙමම තියෙනවා. වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Sustainability reporting වල මොකද වෙන්නේ? Investors when include sustainability data in investor focused communications or multi-stakeholders when preparing a standalone sustainability report. එතන පොඩි වෙනසක් තියෙනවා. අන්න ඒක තේරුම් ගන්න. තුන්වෙනි එක integrated reporting provides of financial capital others interested in the organization's ability to create value will also benefit. Scope එක මේක තමයි හොඳටම බලන්න ඕනේ. Information about financial reporting වල financial statements වලින් scope එක මොකක්ද කියලා බලුවහම මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? Information about recognize assets, liabilities, equity, income, expenses, changes in equity, cash flows. So ඔයගොල්ලෝ පහුගිය අවුරුද්දවල ඉගෙනගෙන ඇති. ඊට පස්සේ narrative reporting වල risk exposure, risk management strategies and the effectiveness of those strategies, effect of beyond financial statement factors and operations and financial statement performance. ඊට පස්සේ sustainability reporting වල මොකද? Significant effect in the following performance areas: economic, environmental, social, including labor practices, human rights, and broader social influences, governance. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මතක ඇති මැසේජ් එකක් දාන්න කතා කරන්න අමාරු නම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මතකද මම මේ ලෙක්චර්ස් පටන් ගන්නකොට කිව්වා ලංකාවේ apparel industry එකේ garment factory එකක් එහෙම තමයි apparel garment factory එකක් කියන leasing කඩත කියන වචනේ factory එකක් visit කරන්න ආවම ඒන market QC team එකේ එහෙම නැත්නම් buying office එක represent කරන කට්ටිය මොනවාද staff එකේ canteen එක ගිහිල්ලා inspect කරනවා ඊට පස්සේ අර ගෑනු ළමන්ගේ toilet inspect කරනවා clinic inspect කරනවා කියලා ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මම කිව්වා මතකද නැද්ද මතක නම් මතකයි කියන්නේ නැත්නම් නැහැ කියන්නේ මතකද කාටද මතක උදිත් මතකද එහෙම එකක් මං කිව්වා ආනමයි උදිතුත් නැද්ද
මතකයි සර්.
ඔව් ඒක තමයි මේ දැන් මේක මේ කියලා තියෙන්නේ ඒකයි පේනවනේ sustainable reporting වල මේ තියෙන social including labor practices human rights and broader societal influences කියලා ඊට පස්සේ මේ integrated reporting කියන එකේ context element organizational overview and external environment ඊට පස්සේ governance business model risks and opportunities strategy and resource allocation performance outlook basis of preparation and presentation ඔය ටික තමයි මේ slide show එකේ තියෙන්නේ අපි පොඩ්ඩක් බලමු additionally මොකද්ද තව discuss කරන්න තියෙන්නේ කීයද කියලා හරි අපි මේ වීඩියෝ එක පැය විනාඩි 3ක් මම මේකේ link එකත් ඔයගලන්ට දෙන්නම්. අපි ටික වෙලාවක් මේ වීඩියෝ එක බලමු.
Good morning. Welcome to this SEPS ACME webinar on corporate sustainability reporting.
ඔයගලන්ට වීඩියෝ එකේ සද්දය ඇහෙනවද? ඇහුණාද? හරි.
Discussing the newly launched Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive that was launched last month by the European Commission. This directive is supposed to be revising the non-financial reporting, the existing non-financial reporting directive. For our discussion today, we have an excellent panel, but before I introduce the excellent panel, I would like to let you know that after the introduction speeches by the panelists, there will be a possibility to ask questions to the panelists. For this, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window. So please put there your question. If you want to address it to a particular panelist, please also then indicate the name of the panelist. So during today's meeting, we will be discussing the new Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive proposal. We start with a short introduction on the proposal by Elena Alvarez. She has been instrumental in the preparation of the proposal and is maybe the best place to first introduce the proposal and what are the key features and what were the motivations in order to come up with this proposal as it is today. Elena, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Willem. Good morning, everyone. Well, as Willem said, there's been different reasons for the amendments that we introduced via this proposal. I won't go into the details because I know many of you are very familiarized with the current sustainability framework and the current sustainability practices that are far from ideal. But basically, we had 4 objectives in the revision of this proposal. We needed to enable that comparable, reliable, and relevant information was available out there or is available out there in order to reduce the systemic risks to the financial sector, to the financial system that arises from the fact that investors cannot properly take account of all these risks arising from sustainability issues. The other objective was also to enable these investors basically to channel capital to companies that do address the sustainability crisis and don't exacerbate it. And also the third objective from this point of view of the use that different stakeholder groups make of this information was the possibility to make companies accountable for their impacts on the environment and on people. A fourth objective, of course, is also to simplify and reduce this unnecessary cost on companies that may arise from different ad hoc requests for information from different investors, from different stakeholders. The availability and the requests to comply against different frameworks is already a reality, and by putting together this proposal, these new requirements, the objective is also to eliminate to the maximum extent possible all those additional requests that may arise. So I'm going to touch upon the main changes that we propose in this directive. It's important to mention, just for clarity on the process, that what the Commission has put forward in April is a legislative proposal that amends 4 pieces of legislation, of EU legislation: the Accounting Directive, where the current requirements of the NFRD stand, the Transparency Directive, the Audit Directive, and the Audit Regulation. So in reality, it's one amending act that amends 4 different legislative acts, 3 of them which need to be transposed by member states into national law. So in April, the process started, the Commission adopted a proposal, and now negotiations will follow between Council and Parliament, and only once the political agreement is reached and the legal act in itself is adopted would it become applicable. So basically, we are aiming for a first reporting cycle according to the new requirements in 2024, covering financial year 2023. So that a little bit of a framework of the process in itself. Now coming to the biggest changes that the proposal introduced, and not wanting to go into too much detail to the time available, I'm going to start focusing on the scope question, which is of course very important. The proposal basically includes the extension of the scope to all large companies as defined in the accounting directive and all listed companies in regulated markets, excluding micro undertakings. And for these listed SMEs, a special regime is foreseen. There is a phase-in approach, so they would only have to require with these obligations 3 years after the large companies, and they will only have to comply with simplified standards. I'll come to the standards question in a moment because, of course, is the centerpiece of the proposal. But just to make the link between this scope of listed SMEs and the simplified standards. So the exemption to subsidiaries remains as it was the case, or as it is the case today in the current requirements. If a parent company reports at group level, at consolidated level, then the subsidiary in the EU does not need to report as well. It is exempted. But of course, the parent company needs to comply with the EU requirements, or in the future, if any other standards would be considered equivalent by the Commission, then that would also be an option. So as regards scopes, that's very important because it translates into an extension from about 11,000 companies to almost 50,000 companies. And of course, one of the main problems raised by users of this information is that many companies from which they needed that info weren't reporting at all. So making the legal framework mandatory was also a prerequisite to make possible that investors, as I said, make the proper decisions, and also that civil society organizations can hold accountable these companies. I'll move to the second point, which is the coverage of sustainability topics and reporting areas, what we call reporting areas. Sustainability topics, basically, as the current directive already requires, all ESG factors would be covered. So in comparison with the current text, basically there is an addition or a reference to governance in more general terms. So not only to anti-bribery and corruption, but also, generally speaking, other governance issues such as the role and composition of the board or any business relationships that the company may have beyond its clients or suppliers. So in this respect, this is broadened, and in the list basically of subtopics or of detailed aspects that the standards would need to cover, the proposal elaborates on the different ESG matters basically. About reporting areas, of course, when we talk about reporting areas, we basically refer to these different points listed in the current directive, like policies, risks, a brief description of the business model, metrics, and so on, KPIs, sorry. So in this respect, we believed it was necessary to specify and explicitly require certain aspects that weren't today in the level 1 framework. And then, of course, this, in the same way as the different relevant sustainability subtopics, if you like for instance, I don't know, reporting on biodiversity or reporting on circular economy and things like that, that will be developed and that will be specified in the standards. But still, in the level 1 framework, in the directive itself, we already added a reference to other elements. For example, there is a requirement to report on targets and the progress towards achieving those targets. We saw from many studies carried out by many interesting organizations, private organizations, that indeed this reporting is lacking. It's not very extended, and it's of course very important. So like this, there are other aspects that you can see in the proposal. If you want to look for it, it's in Article 19A and 29A, and there you can find the list of new matters. But as I say, there are aspects such as targets and progress towards achieving them, role of the board and the management. There is a clearer distinction between due diligence, adverse impacts, and then on the other hand, the risks to the company. And then also, and very important, it is very explicitly included the need to report on the whole value chain. So there are different aspects. All of them, we found them were critical to be there in order basically to frame the work of the standards, to frame the content of those standards. So I encourage you to have a look and check the different elements. It's also important to mention that if you see that list, you'll see that the most important elements of the TCFD, so the 4 pillars of the TCFD, are embedded. There is a reference to strategy, this reference to target that I mentioned, targets, the reference to the role of the board and the management, and of course indicators were already there. But in a way, it's clearer or more explicitly included and embedded in the different reporting areas of the directive. Now, coming to the standards, which is one of the most important changes that we introduced. We think the requirement to report against reporting standards is instrumental to this proposal, not only to ensure comparable information, but also to allow for digitalization, to allow for proper supervision, to allow for the verification, for the assurance of the content of the information. So basically, we need a reference point according to which all these other aspects can be dealt with. So that's why it's instrumental and it's the centerpiece of this proposal. So as I said, there would be a set of standards that would be mandatory for large companies to report against. And then SMEs, the listed SMEs that are included under the scope, only those SMEs will be included under the scope, are allowed to follow or to comply according to simplified SME standards. So the idea is that these simplified SME standards are also available for voluntary use for all those SMEs, which are the biggest majority that are not under the scope of the new requirements. So the idea is to provide a tool to all those other SMEs that will basically still, because they already do, but they continue to receive requests for information and even increasing requests for information, not only as a consequence of these new requirements on more larger companies, but also as a consequence of this high interest by investors in the sustainability aspects of companies. There will be, of course, effects, and are already effects or knock-on effects from the SFRD, and the taxonomy regulation. So in this respect, we think it's crucial that these SMEs have a tool that they can use if they want to voluntarily provide this information. And it's also important because it would serve as a reference point to all those other larger companies or banks or other financial actors that need information. So it's also very important, even if it's only for voluntary use, when SMEs find it's important to them to use it. So on standards, there are different criteria in the proposal. There is the need to cover all these ESG topics, to take account of EU legislation and initiatives. This to us is a very important point because one of the biggest points of this proposal is that it aims at ensuring this coherence between all the sustainable finance framework. So basically, the proposal requires that the content of the standard, so the specific information, takes account of the underlying criteria in the taxonomy, takes account of the needs of financial market participants subject to the SFDR. So for us, this coherence aspect is very, very important. Likewise, it's also very important that these European standards take account of any global developments and, of course, of already existing standards, because the idea is not to reinvent the wheel, it's to build on the most accepted and the best elements of existing standards. So it's not the idea to start from scratch, and it's not the idea to work in isolation. So in this respect, there's also an explicit reference that the standards need to build on these existing initiatives and also consider any upcoming ones. And in this respect, there is even a review introduced, if you like, a review obligation on the Commission to revise these standards at least every 3 years to take on board or to take account of any developments, including those developments of international initiatives at global level. So just to reassure everyone that we are cooperating and we are in contact with the different initiatives, globally speaking, also the IFRS Foundation initiative, of course. And in that respect, what we propose at this moment is the famous co-constructive approach that was presented by the EFRAG task force in their report, when they put together this very good report on preparatory work on standard setting, basically. So it's a two-way cooperation between any global initiatives and the EU work, basically, and it would imply really the sharing of ideas. So it's really bilateral, where we have this at the heart of the work we're doing, because we know and we support any global approach, but we also need to ensure that we basically can go further in requiring reporting at European level. Sorry, it's very important that double materiality perspective is respected in our jurisdiction. It's very important that all ESG topics and not only climate or only environment are considered. And of course, it's also super important that the way or the content that is reported by EU companies meets the need of other financial market participants that are subject to EU legislation. So in this respect, it's clear that we need a European approach, but the idea is, of course, to be aligned and for these standards to be coherent with any development at global level. And of course, that bilaterally the EU and all these global initiatives can interact to ensure that this coordination is a reality. So that as for the standards and the international developments going on at the moment. As for how these standards will be developed and how will they be adopted, the idea is that EFRAG develops what in practice would be draft standards. Then the Commission would consult the relevant EU bodies, and then it would adopt these standards as delegated acts. So basically, the standard setter is the Commission. The delegated acts are adopted by the Commission, and the standards are adopted by the Commission. EFRAG provides the technical advice to the Commission. So that is with regard to standards. The proposal envisages two sets of standards, one to be adopted by October 22 and another one to be adopted by October 2023. The idea is that in the first set of standards, as a minimum, all the relevant information that financial market participants need is covered. And of course, that information about all sustainability matters and all reporting areas is also covered. And the idea of the second set of standards is that any additional complementary information that's needed where necessary is added, and also that sector-specific elements are included. So the sectoral approach would come at the second stage. We also have to be very mindful of the time that we've got. We have set ourselves a very, very tight timeline, but it also needs to be realistic. So that's why we needed to separate a little bit in two phases, the most important things, the basics basically, and then elaborate further at a second stage. I have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to fly through the three last points that I want to mention to you about the changes. The next one is the location of the reported information. So basically, information should be included in the management report if this proposal is agreed by co-legislators. The current requirements allow member states to allow for the separate publication of this information, and 20 member states have done so. But the proposal basically includes all the information in the management report in order to put at this equal footing financial and non-financial, or now called sustainability information, and also to ensure that information is available in a timely manner, so that both financial and sustainability reporting is to be found in the same place and at the same time by especially by investors who are the ones who really analyze both sides of the company. So that's also a relevant change. And then the two last changes are on assurance and on digitalization. On assurance, there is a requirement to provide limited assurance by the auditor. So basically, the statutory auditor would also have to give an opinion on the sustainability reporting by the company. And the proposal also allows
තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ දීපු link එක ආපු නැති කට්ටියත් එක්ක share කරන්න. මේ share කරලා සම්පූර්ණ වීඩියෝ එක බලන්න. මොකද ඒක මගේ presentation එකේ තියෙන එක වෙනස් විදිහකට තියෙන කතාවක්. ඒක නිසා ඒක මේ කෙවල තේරුම් ගන්න. මොකද දැන් අපිට තව කරන්න තියෙන්නේ රිපෝටින් අපි 6 වෙනි ටොපික් එක අද කවර් කළාම කවර් කරලා ඉවරයි. ඊට පස්සේ ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ crisis management, sustainability marketing communication, sustainability channel network. ඊට පස්සේ social marketing. ඊට පස්සේ corporate social responsibility as a sustainable marketing tool එක.
මාතෘකා පහ.
Opportunities of corporate sustainability accounting. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් මේ course content එකේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා ඇති කොච්චර පරණ පොත්ද මේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට රිෆර් කරලා තියෙන කියලා. නමුත් මම
මගේ presentations වල අලුත්ම පොත් මම රිෆර්
කරලා තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව ඔයගොල්ලෝ මෙන්න මේ දෙක හොයා බලන්න. මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ පොත් පරණ ඒවා. ඒක නිසා තමයි මම අලුත්ම පොත් ටික දුන්නේ. State of Environment in Sri Lanka 2002 January, Ministry of Education and Resource, Colombo, Sri Lanka. මෙන්න මේක හොයාගන්න. මේක ඉන්ටර්නෙට් එකේ ඇති. ඊට අමතරව ISO 14000 manual එක. අපිට වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ ISO 14000 manual එකේ අදාළ දේවල් අපිට ඩිස්කස් කරන්න. මොකද සිලබස් එකේ කාල වේලාව හොඳටම තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒ ගැන worry වෙන්න එපා. මේ පොත් ඇවිල්ලා පරණයි. ඊට වැඩි අලුත් දේවල් තියෙනවා. ඒක නිසා මේ 6 7 State of Environment in Sri Lanka 2002 January, Ministry of Environment and Resource, Colombo, Sri Lanka. ඒක හොයාගෙන බලන්න. ඊට අමතරව ISO 14000 manual එක පොඩ්ඩක් අරන් බලන්න. ඒකේ corporate social responsibility ගැන තියෙන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා. එහෙමනම් අපි මම lecture notes ඔක්කොම upload කරන්නම් LMS එකට තව පොඩ්ඩකින්. අපි ලබන අඟහරුවාදා කියලා කියන්නේ 5 වෙනිදා ඊළඟ ලෙක්චර් එකේදී හම්බෙමු. මොකද 12 වෙනිදා ලෙක්චර් එක අවුරුදු ඔයගලන්ට වැකේෂන් නිසා ආපහු ලෙක්චර් එකක් නැහැ. ඒක 5 වෙනිදාන් පස්සේ ආපහු 19. ඒක නිසා 5 වෙනිදා අපි බලමු ටොපික්ස් දෙකක් විතර කවර් කරලා දාන්න බලමු මේ කාල වේලාවත් එක්ක. බොහොම ස්තුතියි. Okay, thank you very much guys. See you next week 5th.